What's up, everybody? This is the Booch, and welcome to my recap of WWE Crown Jewel and Saturday night's main event. Now, some of you might be wondering why I'm doing a video on this, or why I'm talking about this now. Well, the reason is because originally we were supposed to talk about this on the male soap opera moment, but there were issues during recording that I'm not going to discuss right now. I'll save that for when I do a Boochcast episode later this week, when I do my NXT recap. I'll explain more about what happened. And for those reasons, we ended up not doing an episode. So, because I know there are fans that saw our predictions for Crown Jewel and want to hear our recap and our thoughts, at least my thoughts, I decided to make my own video. Now, if Desmond should happen to make his own video, cool. If the Wens wants to say something about Saturday night's main event, that's cool. I'm going to make my video for my fans and give you guys my thoughts. So, first thing we're going to kick off with here is Crown Jewel. And of course, we have Bronson Reed versus Roman Reigns in the Australian street fight. I will say this was a hard-hitting hoss fight match. Like, as Gator and I would normally say on the Boochcast, they has fight. These guys went to war. And because it was a street fight, what I enjoyed about it was a fight. Because that's what a street fight should do. It should give the vibe of a fight, not a match. So, you shouldn't see tackle, drop down, leapfrog, all that shit. There's no wrestling in this match, and there shouldn't be. It should be a fight. Two guys punching, kicking, hitting each other with weapons galore. And of course, at one point in the match, Roman Reigns got a hold of some footballs and was trying to throw them at Bronson Reed, and he missed completely, which I thought was funny considering that Roman Reigns was a football player, but it's obvious he never played quarterback, and if he did play quarterback, he would suck. He played defensive tackle, which is the position he was obviously perfect for at Georgia Tech. And Bronson Reed, of course, got a good pop from the crowd despite being a heel, because he's from Australia, so this is his hometown, so he's fitting in perfectly with the audience. And in the end, Braun Breaker interfered. The Usos tried to help. They were of no help. And in the end, Bronson Reed hit the tsunami, 1, 2, 3, and Bronson won the match. As well he should. Because as I said before on the male soap opera moment, and I've also said this with Josh Briggs on the Boochcast, if you listen to the Boochcast, if you're going to be a monster, if you're trying to build new talent, you can't have them taking L's in big matches. Because I don't care how badass you are. I don't care how good of a talker Paul Heyman is. If you're constantly losing, your credibility is dead. You got to rack up wins, and you got to rack up wins against big names. And let's be honest here. Roman Reigns was champion for 4 years. He's not going to get the title back anytime soon. He's not. Roman Reigns is not in contention for any championships right now. He's not going to be a champion. Roman Reigns has built up 4 years of dominance. When you've built up 4 years of dominance, you can take a couple L's here and there. Roman Reigns could lose multiple matches in a row and be perfectly fine because he had 4 years of dominance. Roman does not need a win, especially when Roman is pretty much sitting at home. He flat out said to the Usos, "I don't want to see you again till Christmas." Which I thought was kind of fucked up because even though Christmas is a big family holiday, another big family holiday is Thanksgiving. So you're basically saying, I don't want to see you at Thanksgiving? That's fucked up. Because I feel like Thanksgiving is getting a bad rap here. It's like people go from Halloween all the way to Christmas and they tend to neglect Thanksgiving. It's a big deal. It's a big family holiday. It's a bigger family holiday than Christmas, I would dare say. Now, Christmas is the more popular holiday. It's the headliner of all holidays. But Thanksgiving is about the family because there's no presents, there's no gifts, there's no songs. You just sit together as a family and eat. And it's the one time where you take the family meal seriously, especially if you're a family that doesn't normally sit down to eat dinner at the table. Sometimes you get food, you sit in front of the TV, or sometimes you get food, you go upstairs to your studio like I do. Sometimes people go in their separate rooms, which is fine. It makes sense. It's not a horrible thing. But Thanksgiving should be the one holiday where everyone eats together. And you have family over or friends that you consider family over. And you sit and you enjoy a nice meal together. That's what you do. That's how it should be. You know what I'm saying? That's how it is. So I felt it was kind of weird, but again, Roman's mad at the Usos. He even said, I love you guys, but don't talk to me right now. Which again is understandable. You know, look, I don't hate you, but I can't look at you right now because you've made me angry. And if I keep looking at you and I keep talking to you, I'm going to say some shit that I can't take back. So that's totally understandable. So again, they're telling that story. So there we go. Now that tells me Roman Reigns might not be at Survivor Series. So if there is a War Games match happening, I don't see Roman being in it. So he might be sitting out Survivor Series. He might be coming back at either Saturday night's main event, December 13th, or he might be coming back for the Rumble to build on the road to WrestleMania 42. So we'll see what happens there. But still, great badass fight. The right person went over. That was supreme. And it was exactly 21 minutes. And now we move on to the next match. The Crown Jewel Women's Championship. Stephanie Vacker versus Tiffany Stratton. This was solid fucking wrestling. We just saw a fight. Now we get to see some wrestling. And these women know how to work. It was brilliant. It was beautiful. It was well done. These women are fantastic. Now, my only issue was the finish. And I'm going to tell you why. Obviously, Tiffany Stratton lost. Just to be clear, I'm not mad. Like, I don't hate that Stephanie Vacker won because Stephanie is extremely talented. And unlike most people in WWE, she actually speaks English when she cuts her promos. She openly admits English is not her best language, but she still does it. And for someone who's insecure about how she speaks English, she actually does it pretty good. And yeah, she mixes in a little Spanish in between and then jumps back to the English, but still, it works. It's a perfect flow. So I'm totally fine with Stephanie Vacker. My only issue is two things. One, I feel like Stephanie's push is too much too fast. Like, she was literally a double champion in NXT, surrendered one of her belts, dropped the other one, and then got a push right up to the main roster and became the women's world champion. Like, it all happened really fast. She's been in WWE for a cup of coffee, and she's getting this kind of push. Again, not saying she isn't talented. I'm just saying it's too much too fast. Also, Tiffany Stratton has been undefeated up until this point. And you know eventually a streak has to come to an end. Now, obviously, a loss here is not going to hurt Tiffany because there's no titles on the line, which Desmond has said, and I agree with him to an extent. However, I believe if you're a champion and you're undefeated with that title, the only thing that should end your streak is dropping the belt. That's what should end her streak. If Tiffany's going to take a loss, she should be dropping the title, and she should be dropping the title to someone who actually deserves to hold that belt. So I didn't feel like Stephanie needed this. I felt Tiffany needed it more. But again, it doesn't make me angry. I just felt it should have gone another way. And that's an okay feeling to have. So that's my only opinion on that. I felt Tiffany should have won. But again, match was phenomenal. Not taking anything away from the match. These women delivered, and they showed why women's wrestling gets the respect it deserves to an extent in 2025. And this match was 10 minutes and 5 seconds. Then we move on to the highlight of the whole show, the final battle between John Cena and AJ Styles. This right here was a fucking work of art. This is two GOATs having a fight and a rivalry that goes all the way back to the early 2000s. Even though they didn't lock up until the 2010s. Like 2016, 2017 is when Cena and AJ had their rivalry. But in reality, they've been feuding since the early 2000s. Because during this time period, both these guys were being groomed and built to be the names and faces of their companies. John Cena was having his run in WWE. AJ Styles was having his run in TNA. John Cena was the face of WWE. AJ Styles was the face of TNA as far as the homegrown talents. Obviously, guys like Sting and Kurt Angle would come in and they would become the faces of the company because they're legends and they're stars. But as far as the homegrown TNA originals goes, AJ was number one. Fact. So that's what this rivalry goes back to. And also, AJ's wearing gear that he wore in TNA back in 2005. So, of course, John Cena gets his intro, the greatest of all time, the never seen 17, celebrating with Perth, Australia, one final time, the last real champion, John Cena. And they also established that this is his chance to get his 100th PLE victory. And when I heard that, I got a feeling Cena was going to win. Also, this is his last time wrestling overseas. This is his final international match, because the last 4 dates that he has are all in the United States. There's the Monday Night Raw next week from Boston. There's the Raw on the 17th from Madison Square Garden. There's Survivor Series in San Diego, California on the 29th of November. And December 13th, Saturday Night's Main Event, where he will retire. So he's got 4 more matches. 4 more appearances, I should say. He doesn't necessarily have to wrestle all 4 times. He might. But they do have to keep in mind, you got to make sure he's healthy come Saturday Night's Main Event. So you can't have him doing too much craziness. You can't risk an injury. So if he does wrestle on the days leading up to that, keep in mind, he's going to be keeping himself safe. He's going to wrestle smart. He's not going to wrestle hard. So as long as he gives it everything he's got in the final match, I really don't care about the match quality of the 10th, the 17th, or even Survivor Series. Because his goal should be to make it to that last date. So don't get too crazy on these last 3 appearances. You have nothing left to prove. Get to Saturday Night's Main Event, and that's when Cena can go all fucking out. Leave it all in the ring. Know that there's nothing left to prove and nothing left to give when that bell rings, whether Cena goes over or does the job. But then we got AJ Styles. AJ got his special intro that Cena had created for him. He gave it to the announcer and she said, the definition of total nonstop action, the ace and undisputed leader of the Bullet Club. It is our honor as fans, my honor as an opponent, to see if he can beat up John Cena one final time. The face that runs the place, the phenomenal AJ Styles. That was great, because it's true. Now the TNA thing, I wasn't shocked by that because I have a working relationship with TNA. But the fact they brought up the Bullet Club, that's why you see Styles going, oh shit. But in the post, they cut away from that. I learned that. Because again, I saw this literally yesterday at the time that I'm taping this. Was when I saw Crown Jewel, I think. No, it was Friday. It was Halloween. I remember now. I was watching Halloween. I was live on TikTok. By the way, you can follow me on TikTok at Booch365. So, they now have the match. If you watched only clips of it from the internet, you would think this was nothing more than a spot fest. It wasn't. These guys actually wrestled. Cena and Styles did the wrestling, the tackle, drop down, the leapfrog, the hip toss, or the attempt for a hip toss or an arm drag. They were doing their thing. They were actually wrestling and working. They built their way up to the spots. And then when the time was right, that's when we saw the skull-crushing finale, the Coquilla clutch, the phenomenal forearm, the scorpion death drop, the tombstone pile driver, the Sister Abigail. And I remember Desmond pointed this out. Cena countered the phenomenal forearm with the Sister Abigail, which is exactly what Bray Wyatt did at Elimination Chamber when he won the WWE title back in 2017, when Bray Wyatt won his first WWE title. So it was great. All the great spots. And then there was another spot that Christopher Daniels did that AJ did. I can't remember the name of it though. But it was a great fucking match. Both these men delivered. In the end, Cena hit that tombstone pile driver, the attitude adjustment. 1, 2, 3. The winner of the match, John Cena. Now, like I said, phenomenal fucking match. Match of the night, no doubt. However, again, just like the last match, I felt the finish should have gone the other way. I felt AJ Styles needed the win here over Cena. Why? Because AJ is retiring next year. So Styles still has more in the tank, still has more to give, is going to be around a little bit longer. So I felt like Styles needed the win here. I didn't feel like John did. But of course, people felt like Cena needed it to get that 100th PLE victory. And also because they had to make up for the atrocious match that he had at WrestlePalooza against Brock Lesnar, which is a fucking disgrace, and I've said that numerous times. So that's why they gave Cena the win here, because he got beaten, victimized, and conquered by Brock Lesnar, which should have never happened, because the match should have never happened to begin with. If that hadn't happened, or if Cena had gotten the win over Brock Lesnar like he should have, then he could have jobbed to AJ and there'd been no problem. So I felt like AJ needed the win more than John did, because Cena's got 4 more dates. His momentum's not slowing down. And Cena is going to be out the door before AJ. So that's why I felt AJ needed the win. But as much as I felt like AJ needed the win, it doesn't diminish how great the match is. Because normally, when the finish sucks, the match sucks. But this is a rare occurrence, just like with Stephanie and Tiffany. This is a rare occurrence where, yes, it didn't go the way I felt it should have, but the match was still fucking great. And this was 27 minutes and 10 seconds. And now we move on to the next match of the evening. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley versus the Kabuki Warriors. This right here was a glorified bathroom break. This is a waste of fucking time. This match did not need to happen, and it was god-awful. There were some good moments, but overall, it was boring. The only thing interesting about it was Rhea Ripley was the hometown hero because it's in Australia. So I felt like that was where most of the excitement came from. But also, here's my biggest problem. Anybody that's followed the male soap opera moment or the Booch cast or knows me very well, I'm not a big fan of the Kabuki Warriors. I'm not at all. Never liked them. Don't see a scenario where I ever would. But here's my thing. The Kabuki Warriors just turned heel. You're establishing them as a heel team. You're breaking them away from Io Sky. When you turn a new team heel, they should get a win right out of the gate to build the momentum. Whether you're turning heel or you're turning face. When you make that initial turn, you have to get that initial win. Because that justifies you turning heel or you turning face. Because, hey, this way's not working. I'm going to go this way. This way works. That's why I'm going to continue to act like this until it doesn't work anymore. And then I'll change back to either heel or face or whatever. So I felt like the Kabuki Warriors, they needed this win. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley did not need this win. They are not a tag team. They shouldn't be a tag team. And their main focus needs to be on them having a feud. Because they have unfinished business. Because Naomi cashed in that Money in the Bank during their epic match at Evolution. Which was great. They had a classic that was ruined by Naomi's cash-in. And also, Rhea Ripley has never beaten Io Sky. So that's the thing Rhea Ripley needs to chase. She needs to get that dragon off her back. She needs to beat Io Sky and prove that she is the top female star in the company by beating the one person she hasn't beat. That's the story they need to tell. Now, some say they might be dragging that out till WrestleMania or waiting till WrestleMania. Okay, do that. But that still doesn't give them a reason to give them a victory here. They didn't need it. The Kabuki Warriors needed it. And now you're killing whatever momentum that heel turn was going to give. Now, like I said, I personally didn't give a shit about this match, one way or the other. But as a wrestling analyst, I got to take my personal feelings out of it, which I'm doing, and being honest here, the Kabuki Warriors needed this win. This was a bad booking decision. This was the worst match on the entire card, and it's the one match where creative made a horrible decision. And this match was 19 minutes and 55 seconds. Of our lives we can't get back, as Gator would say. Now we move on to the main event of the evening, the Men's Crown Jewel Championship. Seth Rollins one-on-one against Cody Rhodes. This right here was a stellar main event. These guys fucking delivered in a way I had never seen them deliver before. These guys truly went all out. The spots were phenomenal. The Avalanche Crossroads, Seth Rollins building suspense with stomps. It was a damn good match. However, there were some issues that I had. There were 3 issues that I had. Number 1, Seth Rollins going over, knowing what would happen the next night on Raw. Number 2, Seth Rollins injuring his shoulder by doing an incredibly stupid fucking spot. Trying to do a coast to coast, head first, instead of feet first, and injuring your shoulder in the process. Now, again, most wrestling fans, modern wrestling fans, the marks, the smart marks, they care more about those dangerous spots than the story that's being told. Everyone likes to talk about how this is the most athletic generation of wrestlers on the planet. which is true. There is. But also, this is the most injury-prone generation of wrestling on the planet. We've seen more injuries happening this year than we have in any other time in wrestling. This is the era with the most injuries. Because again, everyone's doing the crazy high spots and not thinking about the longevity of their careers. Now look, there are wrestlers in the past who have gotten injured. But even when they were injured, they could still work for two reasons. One, a day they didn't work is a day they didn't get paid. So they had to work. They had to hide their injuries. And two, they knew enough about psychology and storytelling that they could wrestle even when they're hurt. Because they could work around their injuries until they needed surgery. But they were able to work around it. These wrestlers today can't work around their injuries because they don't have strong psychology and storytelling. Because if they did, they wouldn't do these pointless spots. So Seth fucked himself, ruined the vision push, and did everything by doing a spot that was completely unnecessary and did not need to be done. And I'm going to give you guys a hot take right now. I'm going to get a lot of comments. I'm going to get a lot of hate, but I'm going to say it anyway because it needs to be said. If I'm Triple H, I'm never making Seth Rollins my world champion ever again. He doesn't get to touch the belt ever again. Why would I put Seth in a main event spot when he has proven himself to be injury prone? He has injured himself, and at times, he's even injured other wrestlers. Granted, that was a long time ago, but still. Seth Rollins needs to learn to wrestle smarter and not harder. And I don't know why Triple H hasn't beaten this into his fucking head. Multiple times, Seth has done pointless spots. And they've gotten him injured and have to change gears. Because Seth injured Seth in this match. That match, you could have took out that coast to coast, and it still would have been a great match. So that's the second thing. The third issue I had. Cody Rhodes did an avalanche crossroads off the top rope. And that wasn't the finish. Cody does not realize he is burying his finisher when he makes decisions like this. You are burying your fucking finisher. That's what Cody's doing. Because if an avalanche crossroads is not enough to put you down, how strong is your finisher? Like, it's one thing when he fought Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40, and he did 3 crossroads in a row. I get that. That's Roman Reigns. That's the tribal chief, the head of the table, a 4-year dominant champion. He had to go all out to finish the story. But when you're doing that almost every match, when one crossroads is not enough to put a man down, if your finisher is not strong enough to put the average person down, it doesn't build the other talent. It weakens your finisher. When you're going to do multiple finishers, it should be against a guy that's difficult to beat, that has a strong reputation, not in every fucking feud that you do. Because again, it doesn't build the talent. It buries your finisher. Cody needs to get a little more selfish and protect his finisher more. Because if you don't protect your finisher, it's going to cost you. And I think that's Cody's problem. That's the only problem I see with Cody. People have other issues they have with Cody Rhodes. My issue is he doesn't protect his finisher. And that's going to cause him problems. So, in the end, Seth Rollins got the win. But again, it meant nothing because the next night on Raw, the Vision kicked him out. And not only that, because he got injured, he was stripped of the world title. So, really, what's the fucking point? Seth got a win, and it does nothing for the show. Because he's gone now. So no one benefits from it. It was basically, you wasted 29 minutes and 40 seconds of our lives. So as great as this match was, I have to end this with, of our lives we can't get back, because Seth's win is null and void. Because we don't know when he's coming back. We don't know how long it's going to take for that shoulder to heal. And by the time he does come back, it's going to wear off that crown jewel victory. No one's going to remember. No one's going to care. This was a bad idea. So as great as the match was, the aftermath was a waste. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was how I feel about Crown Jewel. We're now going to jump into Saturday night's main event here. And speaking of Cody Rhodes, we're going to kick things off with our first official match of the evening for the WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes defends the title against Drew McIntyre. Now, in this match, if Cody gets disqualified or counted out, he loses the title. What I love about this match is they made that a focal point of the story throughout the match, was that there were times where Cody almost got disqualified. There were times where Drew was trying to get Cody to goad him into the getting disqualified. and Cody wouldn't do it. There were times where Drew McIntyre took out Cody Rhodes, and Drew was demanding a count because he knew he would win the title anyway. And Cody had to beat the count just in time at 9 seconds. So he was able to win the match, ultimately keep the match going by beating the count and overcoming the odds. Then when the referee finally gets knocked out, Drew tries to bring the title into the ring. Cody ends up trying to wrestle it from him. At one point, Cody even had the belt, but the ref tried to stop him before that spot came. And Cody tossed the belt, but then Drew hit a Claymore, and Cody was able to kick out. But then in the end, Cody DDTs Drew McIntyre onto the WWE title as they're both wrestling for it. And then he gets the belt out of the ring, picks him up, hits the crossroads. 1, 2, 3. The winner and still champion, Cody Rhodes. So Cody overcomes the odds. So here we saw good wrestling and great storytelling. The storytelling in this match was great. They emphasized the DQ. They emphasized the countout because it was a major point of building the match and getting the contract signed. So from a storytelling standpoint, it's an A+. The match was decent, had good spots, and it was a decent opener to the show. And the match was 18 minutes and 45 seconds. And on that note, we're going to move on now to the next match of the evening for the WWE Women's Championship. Tiffany Stratton defends the title against Jade Cargill. This was a very well done match. Once again, the women delivering. Jade Cargill is so good as a heel. I think Jade Cargill wrestles better as a heel than she does as a face. And I think that's probably where the struggle has been. She's good as a heel as far as in-ring work goes. This is one of the best matches she's had in WWE. And her and Tiffany worked very well together, and the chemistry was on point. And in the end, Jade Cargill got the victory and finally wins the goddamn women's title. I have been waiting for someone to put a belt on Jade for the longest time, and finally we fucking got it. Like, I honestly felt like Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair could have had a women's title match at one point. But now in the end, Jade got the belt. She's now the champion. And we finally have a woman you can build as a star to carry that women's championship. So now I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Jade Cargill is going to do as champion. I love Tiffany as champ. She had great matches, great victories. She's got an impressive resume behind her. But it was time for her to drop the belt, and Jade Cargill was the right person to do it. That's why I felt Tiffany should have won at Crown Jewel and then lost here at Saturday Night's Main Event. That would have been a much better push for her, and it would have definitely upped Jade Cargill's resume. And it would give Tiffany something to hold on to and brag about still while Jade walked around with the belt. Tiffany can still say, well, I got the Crown Jewel ring. So at least she had that to carry around with her. Now she's got nothing to carry around, but hopefully Tiffany will live to get over another day. There will come a day when Tiffany will get a title again. Whether she goes to Raw and becomes a women's world champion, or maybe she beats Jade Cargill in a rematch down the road, I don't know. All I know is Jade Cargill deserves to be champ. The match was short, but sweet and to the point. It was everything it needed to be. It didn't need to be a long, dragged out match. It didn't need to be a banger. It just needed to do the job. And it did. And the match was 5 minutes and 30 seconds. And then we move on to the next match of the evening for the Intercontinental Championship. Dominic Mysterio defends the title against Penta and Rusev. I'm going to be honest right now. I did not give a single fuck about this match. A lot of people are high on Dominic Mysterio. I'm not. And I felt like Penta or Rusev could have done more with the Intercontinental title. I know Dominic's got that AAA Mega Championship thing now, and I feel like Dominic should hold on to that belt and start making appearances for AAA and do more down there, because as Intercontinental Champion, I don't think Dominic's really done much with it. Yeah, he's had some matches here and there, but most of the time, he's been boring as champ. I'm not invested in Dominic. A lot of people are. I'm not. I've tried. I can't get behind it. I don't take it seriously. And I feel like he would do better in AAA right now than he would in WWE. I feel like there's too many talented people, and Dominic just isn't doing it for me. Just not. So I was not invested in this match. Dominic Mysterio won. I did like the finish, though. Like, Rusev had Penta and the Accolade, and then he heard the bell ring, so he thought he won. But Dominic rang the bell to fuck with everybody. And then he came in the ring with the hammer. that used to ring the bell, and Penta went to hit Dominic, accidentally hit Rusev, and then Dominic took him out, frog splash, 1, 2, 3, and he ended up retaining the championship. So Dominic's still Intercontinental Champion. And to me, the only logical reason I can think of to keep Dominic as the Intercontinental Champion is if you're wanting to have him drop it to John Cena. Because there's been talk of Dominic facing John Cena and John Cena winning the Intercontinental title to become a Grand Slam champion. And I believe if John is in fact going to beat Dominic and become the Intercontinental Champion, then his final opponent should be Sheamus. Why? Because Cena and Sheamus had a rivalry, and also Sheamus, like John Cena, has never been Intercontinental Champion. And if Sheamus wins that title, he becomes a Grand Slam champion as well. So I think Cena should become a Grand Slam champion and then build Sheamus up to be a Grand Slam champion by having Sheamus beat John Cena and win the Intercontinental title. And Cena puts over Sheamus in a big way and then rides off into the sunset. I would like to see that. Because other than that, I don't see a reason why Dominic should still be the Intercontinental Champion. I don't think he deserves it, but that's me. And this match was 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Of our lives we can't get back, as Gator would say. And then we have the main event of the evening for the vacant World Heavyweight title, CM Punk one-on-one against Jey Uso. This was the match I was the most worried about out of all of them. Because all I'm thinking is, if they give that title back to the Temu Soldier Boy, Jey Uso, I am going to shit a brick. Because like a lot of people, I see through the bullshit that is main event Jey Uso. Jey Uso is sick and tired of being called an entrance. I'm sorry, that's all he is. His wrestling skills are subpar, and he does better teaming with his brother than he does singles-wise. Jey Uso is not over. Yeet is over. He has a cool song, and people love to say, yeet. Jey Uso brings nothing of value to the main event scene and brought nothing of value during the 51 days he held that world title. Him tapping out Gunther at WrestleMania 40 was not only one of the worst moments of WrestleMania 40, but also ended up being one of the worst booking decisions of the Paul Levesque era. And I will say that hands down. So I was genuinely worried that Jey was going to win that belt. So when CM Punk won, I was fucking ecstatic. Because CM Punk should have been world champion a long time ago. CM Punk returned November 2023. It took him 2 years, almost 2 years on the dot, but 2 years to finally get the World Heavyweight title. Not counting when he won at SummerSlam and Seth Rollins cashed in. But now we know he's the World Heavyweight Champion. There's no Money in the Bank bullshit. Seth Rollins is out with an injury, so CM Punk can now have a solid run with this world title. And we'll see where he goes from there. Because depending on how long Seth Rollins is out, he might come back and face Punk at Mania, or Punk might go into Mania with a different opponent. Who knows? All we know is justice prevailed. And of course, one thing people always talk about is the botched net breaker. When CM Punk was going for a net breaker and Jey Uso turned himself too far over, so Punk kind of kicked him in the head and then did the net breaker again. Jey Uso botching, not a surprise. I felt that the Jey Uso's GTS is okay, but Punk did a weak-ass spear. Jey Uso and CM Punk need to stop doing spears, okay? The only people that should be doing spears now in WWE is 2 people. 2. And only 2. Roman Reigns and Braun Breaker. That's it. No one else in WWE should be doing the spear anymore. It's old, it's played out, it's done, it's a waste of time. No more spears. Spears are done completely. It should be over and done with. It's a waste of time. But in the end, CM Punk got the win. Loved it. Loved the false finishes from Punk. Loved a lot of everything. Of course, Jey Uso hitting a lot of super kicks. Not a big fan of that. I hate super kick parties, as you know. But in the end, Punk got the victory, won the world title, and I hope he has a long, glorious run with it. And it was exactly 21 minutes. And now, before I officially wrap up, there was another moment from Saturday night's main event that was advertised for the next one, which is in December. John Cena made an announcement that starting November 10th, from Cena's hometown of Boston, there will be a 16-man tournament. It is called the Last Time Is Now tournament. Whoever wins the tournament will be the final opponent for John Cena at WrestleMania. And this tournament will feature people from Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, NXT, and even people who don't really go here, which alludes to the possibility of there being TNA wrestlers in this, AAA wrestlers in this. People are hinting around and thinking that it's going to be Edge, because everybody wants Edge to be Cena's final opponent. Here's the thing. Unless Edge got an early release from the contract, his contract is not up until 2026. Okay? It's supposed to expire next year, October 2026. Some people believe his contract's going to expire before Saturday night's main event. But in reality, his contract is up around October 2026. He is currently off filming Percy Jackson and the Olympians. That's why he's off from AEW. His contract has not expired. And Tony Khan is never going to make a deal with WWE because WWE's made it clear they will never do business with AEW because the competition is too close. TNA they'll work with, AAA they've acquired. So those guys will be in there. And I'm hoping if it is the case, I want to see Joe Hendry in this tournament. I would love to see Joe Hendry be John Cena's final opponent. Because it looks like Joe Hendry's contract is going to expire with TNA very soon. And when that happens, WWE is definitely going to sign him. He's making a lot more NXT appearances than he has TNA, even though TNA has kind of been off doing their own thing. I feel like Joe Hendry would be the perfect pick because it would tell a great story. And I feel like Cena's going to build the next big star by doing that. Now, that's assuming Cena's not going to win the Intercontinental title. If John Cena walks into this match with no Intercontinental title, then I'd love to see Joe Hendry win the tournament. If he enters as the Intercontinental Champion, then Sheamus should win the tournament. So it should be Joe Hendry or Sheamus. One of those two, I believe, should win that tournament. Because originally, I wanted The Rock to be it. Because Cena could face the final boss. But if the final boss is not going to be in this tournament, well then, that leaves him out. So that's what I would go with. But ultimately, we'll see what happens. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will wrap up my recaps of Saturday night's main event and Crown Jewel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified so you never miss any additional Booch 365 content. Hopefully, we'll return for Survivor Series with the male soap opera moments, depending on how the Wins is feeling right now. And again, I'll talk about those on a Boochcast episode later on, which you can follow on Anchor, Spotify, Podchaser, and iHeartRadio. Talk to you guys soon. Until then, pizza, baby!